They say crime doesn't pay, but it does keep the pages churning. These 4 books landed on my desk and I knew I was in over my head. Crime, mystery, thriller. It's been a bunch of sleepless nights. Lucky for me, I don't sleep much anyway. So grab your trench coat and magnifying glass. We've got 4 books to investigate. The first clue starts here. Alright, so the first book I'll be talking about is Strange Pictures by Uketsu. Now this one had me doubling back and forth, flipping pages like a detective. I have not read a book this interactive, this immersive since I was a kid, kind of flipping through those Goosebumps choose your own adventure stories. Now this book opens with this psychology professor. He is breaking down this kid's drawing. And it's like your classic fridge art drawing. There's this house, there's this tree, there's this little bird in the center of it. It's just this really simple sketch that you'd see on a fridge. Now the professor later reveals in his lecture that this was drawn by a little girl and that girl murdered her mother. And so for the rest of the book, every drawing sort of feels like this hidden confession. From there, every chapter opens with a new drawing with its own unique story. So they all have different characters from different time periods who are kind of just poking around trying to make sense of that chapter's mystery. So the first one is about these 2 high school kids who are in this paranormal club, and they just stumble across this blog that is filled with diary entries from this husband whose wife passed away. Another chapter is about this kid who draws this picture of his apartment with his mom, and that raises alarms with his teacher. And the last one is about this hiker who died and they found a drawing inside of his pocket. And so every story kind of pulls you deeper into the mystery until this connection all starts clicking at the end. The cover says this book is horror, but it wasn't really too scary or anything. I think this was more of a mystery than anything. The characters are doing all of the investigating and all the detective work, but it's kind of fun seeing them piece together all the evidence. I finished this book in about 2 days. I have heard people share similar experiences as well. I think it's really fun, it's creative, it's an addictive read. So if you're looking for a mystery that kind of combines eerie drawings, shifting perspectives, and maybe some human drama, check this out, Strange Pictures by Uketsu. This guy's also a YouTuber as well, and he wrote a follow-up to this book called Strange Houses. I'm really interested in checking that one out, and if you've read that one, let me know how that holds up. Okay, so the best way I've seen this book described is Sherlock Holmes if he were born in the rough neighborhoods of Long Beach, California. So this book follows Isaiah Quintabe, or as he's known in his neighborhood, IQ. He's basically this street smart detective for hire. He solves local crimes that range from like stolen laptops to missing daughters to shady police setups. And so this narrative kind of flips back and forth between his past in 2005, where he's coping with the loss of his brother and he's making these like questionable choices to survive on his own, and also his present case where he is trying to track down the person who ordered a hit on this rapper named Black the Knife. And so IQ also has this sidekick. His name is Dodson, which rhymes with Watson. Another connection there with Sherlock Holmes. And he's kind of this like brash, street smart character, whereas IQ is this methodical, quiet guy. And together they kind of balance each other out in that odd couple kind of way. They remind me a little bit of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. If you've ever seen the film Bad Boys, they just kind of bicker the entire time. Their conversations are nothing but back and forth banter. They also have a lot of pop culture references in here. So I thought the dialogue felt really authentic. A lot of their conversations had me laughing. And personally, as someone who grew up in Southern California around the 90s, I really appreciated all the references to hip hop, like Tupac, Biggie, Snoop Dogg, also films like Denzel Washington and The Terminator. So I could see this book totally being a movie franchise. The first chapter opens with like this boat chase, Fast and the Furious style, with grenade launchers. And on top of that, throughout the book, there's also all sorts of other chaotic situations with like pet store robberies, giant assassin dogs named Goliath. There's rap artists joining cults, gang warfare. But despite all of that chaos, I think the story maintains a good level of heart. It deals with themes of grief and guilt that I think make the characters feel really real. I don't read a lot of crime fiction, but I thought this was a really fun read. So if you're a fan of movies like the Bad Boys franchise or even Training Day, this might be something up your alley. So the initial concept behind this video came from reading this book right here. This is The Postman Always Rings Twice by James Cain. Now I knew at the beginning of the month I wanted to read like a classic crime novel, and in my research I stumbled across this book, which many people consider to be a classic of noir fiction. Now, this has been a genre I've always been interested in exploring, so I thought I'd check it out. And this book opens with this guy named Frank Chambers. He's a drifter. And he hops out of a hay truck and walks into this tavern in California. And he meets the owner. And this is the guy they call the Greek. And he offers Frank this job as a mechanic. And so while they're talking, he notices a woman in the kitchen and he's immediately attracted to her. Her name's Cora and she's the Greek's wife. And so no later than like 10 pages after that, Frank has these characters, he's hustling them, kind of scheming. He has them questioning their identity, their relationship, their business, all sorts of stuff. And so the plot immediately moves after into Frank and Cora making this plan to clip the Greek down. Now I know a big thing with noir fiction are these morally questionable characters, but I think Frank Chambers is just this terrible person. He doesn't care about anything other than himself. He's just this really sketchy dude. And Cora isn't any better at all. And together, they're just like lust, violence, blackmail. And so I guess the entertainment of reading a book like this is just watching two people make really bad choices. And so as my first introduction to a classic noir crime novel, I enjoyed reading this one. I think it was a fast and easy read. It's only about 100 pages. I thought the dialogue was really sharp as well. There's a lot of short exchanges that just made the story feel like really gritty. I also really enjoyed the ending. It was really shocking and unexpected. Definitely not a happy one. And so this is not a mystery book like some of the other books on this list. It's just straight doom and desire. There's also a lot of movie adaptations of this one. I think the most famous one is the Jack Nicholson one in the 80s. I haven't seen it, but if you have, let me know. I guess that speaks to the timelessness of this book and its themes. Also, the title of this book is called The Postman Always Rings Twice. I have no idea. There's no reference to a postman in this book or anything at all. I'm sure there's a metaphor in there somewhere. I just haven't been able to figure it out. Okay, my last book in the series is The Maid by Nita Prose. I read this book back in 2022 when it won the Goodreads Choice Award for Readers' Favorite Mystery Thriller. And unlike the other books on this list, I think this one takes a lighter approach to crime. I've heard other readers even call this like a cozy mystery. And I would agree, I think in big part because the main character is just really charming. Her name's Molly, and she's this neurodivergent maid who works for this luxury hotel. She loves her job, and she does her best to keep like every single room in a state of perfection. But one day, while she's cleaning, she finds this dead guy in his room. And through these series of misunderstandings with the police, she gets drawn into the investigation, and then she is later accused of the crime. Now, before all of this, she always had her grandmother to kind of like help her navigate the world and kind of make sense of things. Her grandmother was basically like her protector, but months before all of these events happening, her grandmother died of cancer. And so now she basically has to figure all these things out on her own. And so the big questions for her is, who can she trust and how is she going to clear her name? As a character, I think Molly pays like incredible attention to detail. Other times she is like super naive, so all the other characters kind of take advantage of her. I think this makes her character feel a little inconsistent at times, especially as a main detective protagonist. But I think that's part of the charm of the book. She's like really quirky, she's really easy to root for. And I think this story kind of makes the reader question their own assumptions about people who are misunderstood in society. Sorry, I live by trains. Overall, I really like this book. It's a mystery with a lot of heart in it. It kind of reminds me of the show Only Murders in the Building. Kind of has that cozy mystery vibe to it where they blend humor and heart. We have these amateur detectives. There's all sorts of like oddball supporting characters. And I think at the heart of both of these, there's just characters who are longing for a connection. So check this out if you're looking for a fun, simple, entertaining mystery. I know there's more books in this series. I have not read any of those, but if you think this is a series worth continuing, please let me know. And just like that, the case was closed. 4 books, 4 different crimes, some messy, some clever, some that kept me up past midnight, but nothing but cold coffee for company. They say crime doesn't pay, but between you and me, it sure makes for a hell of a story. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your pages turning.